we're rolling. So I'm on the way somewhere really special, sitting in the middle lane. I remember when I had my first car, Ford Fiesta, B-Reg in like a baby blue. I remember my first journey on the motorway with it. Every time I was in the passenger seat of a car, as a kid, I'd always like visualize myself sitting really low down, that I'm driving a nice car, a low down car. It was always a Porsche or a Lotus. And I used to just visualize that people are driving by me, looking at my car, admiring it. And people are behind me. We didn't have any cameras there where you could take pictures back then. I'm talking about in the 1800s. So today I'm sitting in my 911 under the speed limit threshold, so just in case there's any feds out there looking to do me. All right, I'm doing like 69 miles per hour. I'm looking in both mirrors, driving sensibly, carefully. You know what, driving time is so important because it gives you time to think about things. It gives you time to maybe visualize. Now, when we talk about visualization, people think that you've got to close your eyes to visualize. But no, not at all. You can have your eyes wide open and be visualizing. Like right now, I could be telling myself that I'm in a Fiat 500 if I wanted to manifest one of those. Not that I do. No offense, Fiat 500 drivers. So like, this is a real valuable time. Not only can you visualize what car you're in. Say if you've got a desire to get a Rolls-Royce, Lamborghini, or whatever that, if you're a car person, you can actually sit there and sit in the position that you'd be in and just imagine like that lorry driver over there looking down at the car, admiring it, thinking, wow, that's a nice car. So in your mind, you could be playing games of like, just like you're driving, just feeling that you're driving, imagining, right? Imagination's so cool. A lot of the time when people are in cars, when you're driving along, you have a conversation playing on in your mind, right? There's always a conversation that goes on. You're always thinking about something. And as you're thinking about something, you can actually hear your voice. You always think in your own voice. You don't think in someone else's voice. I want you to think about what I'm saying here. A lot of the time when you think, you don't think in someone else's voice. You always think in your own voice, unless you're thinking about someone else saying things to you. You might hear your wife's voice, you might hear your husband's voice, or whoever's voice. Right now, I can hear my own voice before I even speak. I can think about what I'm going to say, how I'm going to sound. Use that time wisely. Think about how many hours a week you drive. Imagine if you spent those hours actually staying in the state of your goal, actually feeling that you're actually in your goal, imagining what it would be like to earn that level of income, to have that time freedom. Like right now, I'm driving here on the M1. If I had a goal that I wanted to, let's say, like move to LA, I could visualize myself on the freeway in LA. I can tell myself, hey, I'm in LA. You can tell yourself that, right? And I can start to imagine that I'm actually in LA, even though like the roads are a lot narrower here. We've only got like 3 lanes, 4 lanes here. In LA, I think there's like 12 lanes or something crazy. I can just imagine that I'm actually the smaller part of the highway, right? If that makes sense. So we're going somewhere really special today. So I've been looking around at a new car. I've always had a desire. I've been looking at a Lamborghini for quite some time, and it's a certain color that I want. Now I was online this morning and I saw one. And I'm like, wow, it's cool. Let's go look at it. So I rung up the dealership, made an inquiry and said, come on down, come on down. Back in the day when I had no money, when I was in debt, when I was trying to build different companies, I would always like go to like dealerships and look at cars. I'd test drive cars. I would actually get in a car and test drive it, not having the money, not with the intention that I'm not going to buy it. You know, the money can come from anywhere. I remember one time, you know, people say, well, you're wasting a salesperson's time, blah, 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 blah. But one time what happened, I was in some crazy place in my life and I wanted a 911. I made the decision that I was going to go test drive one, or I couldn't go test drive one, so they actually brought it to me because I was so busy working in a retail store that I had. Anyway, so that brings it down to me from the dealership. I drove it around, and I remember the roof was down, it's a hot summer's day, and I purposely drove down that road because I knew it had big mirrors. I wanted to see what it looked like, what I'd look like in that car. So I just looked out the window, just really slowly drove past it, taking in every single detail I could. What it looked like, what I looked like in there, the height of the car. 9 weeks later, I manifested a car better than that. All right, so I didn't waste that person's time. I manifested a much nicer car in the space of 9 weeks. Just had an idea, hey, listen, you want to get a car, get someone else to pay for it. So I set up a car hire company. And so other people were paying for my car. I put a deposit down into the car, put some money into it, and got the car. And like, wow, right? And this is how manifestation works. If you ain't willing to dream, you know, you ain't gonna get nothing. If you do dream, you got to take the action as well. A lot of people get caught up with, hey, listen, you know what? I know about this law of attraction. I'm just gonna watch a secret and say some affirmations, and everything will work out hunky-dory. But they miss out a very important part. A lot of people in the coaching space, manifestation queens, kings, unicorns, whatever you want to call yourself, you've got your courses out, your cheap, shitty, $350 self-study courses telling people how you can help them manifest anything they want. And how can you manifest anything you want if you don't have the back end, right, of the game? Because you can visualize all you want, but you've got to have different elements into your business as well. You've got to take action. You know, strategy is important, but before strategy comes in, the mindset is really important. The belief systems, your paradigms are so important. Before a strategy is going to work for you, before any marketing will work, you've got to be programmed for success. You know, you've got to see yourself wealthy internally. We're not just on about being positive, yeah, I believe I can be a millionaire, but really feeling yourself at a cellular level, really like getting into the state, getting into that frequency and staying there and taking action from that frequency too. All right, you ain't gonna get rich by not doing the work, but you ain't gonna get rich either if you don't consciously get rich, emotionally get rich first. You know, Bob Proctor had an amazing book, You Were Born Rich. You know, we are rich with potential. We are all born rich. We have all the tools that we need. We have our imagination, we have our will, we have our intuition, we have our reasoning factor. You're probably thinking, what the fuck is that? We have all of these tools that no one ever taught us how to use, and anybody that's ever created success and wealth, they've used these tools whether they know it or not. You know, there's two types of people. You get unconscious confidence, right? I'm like, when I first heard that, unconscious confidence, what's that mean? You can have someone who's highly successful, really wealthy, really doing amazing in business, but they ain't able to transfer that same knowledge to someone else to get them to that same level. Now, if you ask a person who's unconsciously competent, well, you know, how did you get so rich? How did you get so successful? They might say, I've worked, grinded away every single day, worked hard, never missed a day, showed up early, but they are programmed for success. People like myself, I wasn't programmed for success. I learned the laws that govern the accumulation of wealth. I learned the rules of earning money. And now, because I learned the rules, I can actually show other people what I've learned and show them how I've learned it. Now think about this. If you've done something once by accident, by fluke, right, and you've got a result, right, you've had a one-off, and you can't repeat that same action again to repeat the result, you don't understand how this works. If, like myself and a lot of my clients, you can actually understand the rules around money, success, and you can do it once, and you know exactly what you did to get there, you can do it again and again and again. You can do it in a different industry, you can do whatever you want. So like, I know that I can help anybody in any industry. I know how it works. I know how to unprogram those bad results, those bad thought patterns that you have, the beliefs, right? I know how to do that. And I can show other people how to do it. And I have been showing thousands of people all around the world in how to do that. You don't just get lucky. You can get lucky once, right? And then your income shoots back down. I want you to all have a real solid think about yourself, you know, like what you want to achieve. Like 2024 is fast approaching. Where do you actually want to be in 2024? You know, what are these long life desires that you have that you want to fulfill? And you're hoping on the chance that, you know what, one day it's going to work out. You know, I'll just keep on doing this over and over again and it's going to work out. Now, that can't happen. You know, one thing I want you to all take away from this video is, like, if you're at a certain level of income, your business at a certain level, and you want to multiply that by, let's say, 5, now that means that you've got to do something different to what you've been doing, to what's brought you to where you are. Does that make sense? Hope it does. So I've spoken to people like 10 years ago, you know, I'm listening to their dreams, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they're in the same place because they're doing the same thing, they're having the same thoughts, they're on the same track. You know, if I want to overtake the car in front of me, I can't overtake it unless that car moves or I get into the other lane. That's the only way I can overtake it. I've got to take a different level of action. I've got to take a different course of action. So look at your actions. Do they align with what you desire? Look at your thoughts. Do they align with what you want to manifest, what you desire? If not, we need to change things, right? So a little short video from me, right? Sitting in the middle lane in my 911, right? Just like when I used to imagine when I was a little kid and when I was in that Ford Fiesta back in 1995, sitting in the middle lane, visualizing, never doubting, you know, having belief, having faith. And not only that, I knew that I was going to do whatever it took to get there. I wasn't going to pussy about. You know, I found mentors, I invested in myself, I did illogical things. Whilst my friends were all going out buying cars on finance, they were buying nice clothes, going on holidays, I had none of that. I didn't buy any designer clothes until I made some money. But what I did do, I'd invest the money in my own mentorship and my own development. That's why I'm experiencing financial freedom and time freedom today. This is the dream car. This is it. This is a colour, this is a car, this is a spec. The only thing is that this is a two-wheel drive and I was looking at a four-wheel drive, so I love the colour. As soon as I saw this morning, I'm like, I made a decision, you know what, I'm going to go come and check it out. But it's got the right interior with it. It's just a spot-on car. Look at those wheels, the rims. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. The chap's just gone to get the the key so I can have a little sit inside it. Look at that position. Look at the green in there. Wow. Wow, look at that. I am so tempted. Such a beast. I wonder what it's like to park one of these things. Do you need to use the bathroom before you leave? Okay, so on the way back from Lamborghini in Leicester, so really like the car. I've always had my heart set on the Evo 4. So for those of you that are not into cars, the Evo 4 is a four-wheel drive version. Better road handling, more control kind of thing. So this one's the Evo 2, so I'm not really feeling like drawn to it, you know. It's not a matter of like, can I afford it, can I not? It's just like, you know, I want the Evo 4, so I think I may be settling if I went from this. It's not really what I truly want. The only downside, it's a two-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive, so I might make a couple of calls. I think I might. Yeah, I really wanted the four-wheel drive, so this isn't the four-wheel drive, so am I settling for something less than what I want? So I'm gonna have a little look, have a little think about this. Whenever you're setting yourself a goal, you always want to make sure that you're going after something that you really want. So I really want the Evo 4. Now, I asked myself a question. Now, if that was an Evo 4, would I walk away with that car? Would I make that decision right then? And the answer was yes, 100%. Now, I asked myself the same question, and internally I was like, you know what? Am I happy with this car? Am I happy with walking away, you know, making a deal on the car, doing a transaction? And the answer was more or less like a 50-50. So I'm like, you know what? It's not a real solid decision, so that's probably, if I don't get it, I'm gonna go home and think about it. If I don't get it, it's gonna be because of that one reason. If that was a four-wheel drive, the Evo 4, 100%. So, you know, I'd pay the extra bit of money to get the Evo 4. So whenever you're making decisions, don't ever settle. Those over there, them what do you call them? What, they're wind turbines, Dan? You know what, when I first saw them, there was a load of sheep on the field, right? And, you know, I'm like, fucking hell, these are nice farmers. I thought they were big, massive fans to keep the sheep cool in the summer. I'm like, how thoughtful. I actually realised that they actually create energy. So I might see if I can get one of them in my garden to charge up my electric car. Imagine that would piss off the neighbours, right? So when I was about 18 or 19, I remember I used to buy and sell cars, you know, on the side. I tried to make some extra money. So I would go into local paper on Thursdays. The paper used to come out all the Sunday, beds on Sunday. And I'd find cars that had just been put on there. And sometimes I'd get a paper of like 2 weeks old, and I'd ring up for a car. I remember this white Fiesta. It was advertised around about $1,000. So I ring this guy up. I remember this guy was a French dude. I put on an accent. I go, hello mate, I'm looking to buy your car. I've got like £900 for it. Would you take it? I said, that's all I got. I don't know where this accent was from. And he goes, sorry, no, I wouldn't take less than $1,000. I said, okay, sorry to bother you. An hour later, I'd ring back, put on another accent. I'd withhold my number. All right, mate, yeah, I've just seen your car advertised in the paper. No, would you take like 800 quid for it? I'll give you cash for it today. 800 quid, or 750, 800 quid, round about there. And they'd be like, well, no, it's too little. And again, probably about a couple of hours later, or even sometimes 10 minutes later, I'd put on another accent. They'd be like, hey, all right, mate, all right, you got a car for sale. I went to buy it. I'll give you £650 for it today. £650 cash I'll give you for it. And now this guy's thinking, well, I could see the tonality changing in his voice. 600, well, could you do a little bit more? I knew that I had him. I said, sorry, 650 is my absolute max. Then I'd ring up about a couple of hours later, and I'd put on an Italian voice, I'd put in a Chinese voice, I put in an Indian voice, and then I ring up, I say, hi mate, I'm looking to buy a car. I've just passed my driving test, and I've seen your car is £1,000, and I've seen other cars that are priced a lot less. It's my first car, and I've only got about £600. I'm not sure if you take that, but you know, I might be able to get another £50 or £100 off my parents if they lend it to me. And so this guy's like sympathising with me, first car. He probably thought about when he bought his first car. I said, yeah. I said, I can come today. I can come now. I'm free now. I can put a deposit down, and I can come back with my dad to pick it up later on or something like that. And I'd get there. He'd say, right. He'd kind of agree. I'd get there, and I said, you know what? This tie's not really great. It's genuine, right? The tyre was a bit bold, and this, that, and the other. And so I'd end up getting the car at like $500, right? And then I go put it back on the market, same newspaper, a week later for like 12, 13, 1400 bucks. So that was a strategy that I used that was very effective. Now you got to get creative in business, right? I had the price that I was willing to pay for that car. I genuinely felt that car was worth X. I wasn't ripping the guy off. I just felt, you know, that car's overpriced and this is where it should be at. Now, unless you ask, you don't get, right? So any transaction that you do, you know, think about how creative are you if you're the seller, if you're the buyer. You got to get creative, and that creativity paid off. That was just a strategy that I made up, using my imagination, and I made like probably $700 or $800 of that one sale. So you know what, I really find it fascinating. You know, when you go out and you see some wealthy people, like different areas, you don't know what's going on in their minds. You know, what are they thinking? What thoughts got them to where they are? You know, what's the difference between their thinking and people that ain't really making it? I was in a restaurant last night, and it was a really nice restaurant, and you look around at people, and I kind of wonder like, what their thought process is. What do they think like? If you go to like wealthy neighbours, like we just saw that Rolls Royce at the back there, right? There's a woman sitting in the back being chauffeur driven. So her thoughts, what she's like, her inner dialogue is going to be totally different to someone who's actually driving the Rolls Royce, right? Now you're in the back of it. So I think it's kind of really fascinating. Think about the frequency that person's on. You know, what their paradigms, you know, what their money paradigms, what do they believe is a small amount of money? They might say like, you know, earning $500,000, $1 million a month is just, is like really small, it's embarrassing. You know what, there's actually people that would be embarrassed by earning $1 million a month, right? Some people that could even like make them cringe and make them sick if they're earning $1 million a month. And there's people out there earning 20 million a month, there's people out there earning 50 million a month. To someone who's earning like 200 grand a month, like getting to $1 million is going to sound like a lot. But then if you look at someone who's earning 50 million a month, there's people out there, and there's going to be people that are earning 100 million a month. There are actually people out there that earn that level of wealth. And so everything is just irrelevant, right? Sometimes we look at a certain number, we might say that it's a big number, it's a small number, but it's really not. It's your awareness. I used to look at people like having 2 nice cars, and I'm thinking, how the hell could someone buy 2 nice cars at once and drive them around? And now I'm doing that. I've got 2 really nice cars, and people might be thinking like, you know, how can you do that? Well, firstly, it starts off with the thinking. You know, I didn't think I couldn't do it. I didn't think I could do it, perhaps, I don't know, but I did it. I didn't like rule it out for me that I can't do that. So I just got my first one and worked, got my second one, and now looking at my third one. Next time you drive through like nice houses, like areas, don't ask what they do for a living. Okay, I used to do that. I used to think, I wonder what these people do for a living, see these huge mansions. Now I ask myself, I wonder what this person is thinking. I wonder what this person thinks all day long. I wonder what goes through their mind. That's what interests me more now, because you can have an industry where one person is really crushing it and the other person isn't, and the person that isn't crushing it could be in business for like 30 years, and the person that comes along starts crushing in that industry could only be in that industry for like 2 years. So it's got nothing down to the experience, how long that person's been in the industry. It's all around how that person's programmed. We place limits upon ourselves. We always do, whether we know it or not. Right now you might be listening to me and you know, you might be saying to yourself, well, you know what, how can I get to my goal? How can I get to it? By thinking that, how can I get to it? Can I get to it? That's limited thinking, impressing it upon yourself. So stop thinking that. I never think like, how can I get this? How can I get that? How can I be sat in the back of that Rolls Royce? How can I have a I don't think about that. I don't think why I can't. I think, right, how can I do that? Well, what's the quickest way for me to do that? And so you've got to start to think like, not why you can't, how can I? That's the question. How can I, with the intent to actually do that? Not, how am I ever going to do that? You know, I'm looking like, well, how can I do that? What's the quickest way for me to do that? Change your thoughts. Once you change your thoughts, your feeling starts to change. You start to change the way you feel. And then when you start to feel a different way, you start to act a different way. And when you start to act a different way, the universe starts to react a different way to your initial action. So remember that, don't ever forget that.